Okay, we have some new students, new to WIN, and I just want to take a moment to be sure that everyone is aware of what this is, why we're here, and the wonderful benefit that WIN is to you as a woman in ministry. The purpose of WIN, it stands for Women's International Network, and the vision of WIN is to encourage, educate, and equip women in all areas of Christian ministry. And I want to emphasize that because we are not proposing that the only ministry that women might engage in is pulpit ministry or typical ministry. That's part of it. But every woman who feels a call on her life to help people. She wakes up one day, looks around, and people are following her. She's praying for them. She's seeing miracles. She has a heart to disciple them. She's witnessing of Christ. She's, like in the case of our sister Joy, she's working with women on the street. She has a heart for women that have been abused and are in this trafficking environment. So all of these areas of ministry, everything that you feel, your business you can feel so strongly, this is my ministry. I know Woody, part of what she does is physical therapy for elderly or infirm. I may not have that exactly right, Woody, forgive me. My point is, she's not just teaching people to do water aerobics, she is a minister. So this is a point that I want to always make with WIN, because there's a stigma concerning women in ministry. We are fighting that stigma. We are proving it wrong. We are pulpiteers. We are mass evangelists. We are pastors and apostles and teachers and prophets. We're all of that. But I never want a woman to feel excluded from this vision because she doesn't fit in a certain mold of what the traditional Christian community considers ministry. We minister when we serve. Since the word ministry from the scripture means to serve, I would say the female members of the body of Christ are some of the premier ministers, servants in the entire body of Christ. So we want to be that encouragement to women, that they don't feel demeaned, they don't feel second class or low rated, but no, they feel that they're fulfilling a call, obeying Christ, and in the power of his Holy Spirit, they're making a difference in the lives of people. Now, we fulfill this vision, as some of you might know, through classes like this. We usually have classes face-to-face and online. Now we're restricted to online only. So we do both. We have now satellites of WIN. They're not official representations of WIN. We don't have membership. We don't assign leaders in areas. That's not what we do. But a woman who has benefited from the teaching through WIN can do whatever she pleases in her country. And through that, we have satellites where women are teaching these things to women. We have in Russia, in Holland, in France, in Kenya, in Nigeria. Pastor Shai, did I remember all of them? Basically, wherever there's a WIN woman that's doing anything, she identifies and she turns around and helps women in addition to the things that she's called to do. So that's enough about WIN.
Ghana and Burma.
Ghana and Burma, yes, thank you. Thank you, wonderful. And listen, these are powerful women. They were powerful before, but they have an advantage. I think that WIN gives women an advantage, for they function in this world at a disadvantage. You know that, and I know that. There are so many prejudices, biases. There are so many things that women have to crawl through in order just to obey Christ. So we are proud to stand alongside any woman who is helping someone else in the name of Christ. And that's what we do. Now, our website is winministry.org, and that's where you will be able to find the classes. We still have a couple of classes that are in queue for this year. They're going to be excellent classes. And by the time we have them, we might be able to have them face-to-face. We'll certainly also have them online. But I would encourage you to remember to go there. There's you can contact and use an email address that's there. You can send your testimonies, send your prayer requests. You can give updates on your ministries, send photographs. So keep us informed and we will pass it along. We also have a Women's International Network Facebook page. And we love to post the pictures, the reports of women in action doing whatever they do. So you might want to just go and like that so that you can be informed when women are doing things. And we want to be encouragers. We want to take our hats off and salute. We want to love one another, defend one another, pray for one another, thank God for one another. This is part of what we commit to do as women. Now, having said that, let's come to the focus of this particular class. This is effective ministry communication, and our instructor is the one and only Ceitci Demirkova. And she has informed me with a big smile on her face that she's the only Ceitci in all of America, and maybe the only Demirkova in ministry with a ministry website in America. Maybe there's others in Bulgaria, but not in the States. So we're so proud of her. She's from Bulgaria. She's been in ministry for 25 plus years. She can tell you what she wants of her own testimony. I won't take that from her, but I will boast that after she had been in the States maybe 5 or 6 years, she connected with us. And the very first year that Win launched in 2001, Ceitci was at the very first class. And from that day until now, she has never missed a Win class. She's become one of our instructors and teaches almost every year. And her topics are always very popular. And she's an excellent presenter. You'll see that for yourself if there's your first class with her. So I want you to receive her in the excellence that she presents, in the wonderful testimony that she exudes, and in the real heart of a Win woman, to welcome her for what she has achieved and what she is sacrificing to make available to us. Would you help me welcome Ceitci Demirkova? This would be a reaction time.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bishop. That was a wonderful introduction. And I gotta say, the Win classes have definitely enriched my life over the many years. I mean, since 2001, I'm so glad that I joined in and I'm still a part, and I have been able to meet so many wonderful women in ministry throughout the years and learn together along with Pastor Shai and Bishop and so many others that have come in and spoken into my life and into the life of many others. And I just want to also welcome everyone new who hasn't been with us before. I see different names that I'm not familiar with, haven't seen you before in person. So I just wanted to say thank you for joining us. And this is going to be a very timely class because of all that's happening around the world right now with the COVID crisis. And everybody's pretty much been online and communicating with their family and with people that they work with. And so for me, particularly, before I go into the class, I just wanted to encourage you with this, that no matter where you may be in your life right now, you may be a mother, you're dealing with children in the background while you're trying to enjoy the class. You may be thinking of what's going to be for dinner or what's going to be happening tomorrow during the day at your work. There's so many things that are happening right now in all of our lives that we all need encouragement. And at this particular time, women especially who are running an organization, trying to fundraise for somebody else in their organization, people that they support, the ministry that they believe in, you know, this is a time when we cannot just be separate. We may be in a place of isolation in a sense that we can't be in our presence together, but we must connect. And what a better way right now to connect with one another, to share what is happening and to be able to encourage each other. So as I was preparing for the class, I end up listening to several webinars leading up to it. And all of them were connected to how do you deal with the current crisis during what's happening and still being able to raise funds. And even though we're going to be talking extensively over the next day and also all day on Saturday about that particular subject, I just wanted to open up with those two ideas that were presented during those webinars. The number one was those people that have been teaching courses on social connections and growing your mailing lists and growing your following and creating a sustainable ministry. Every single webinar that I joined, they all said during this particular time, almost all of our notes that we have had from previous years on how to do certain things are now kind of out the window, because you have to adopt immediately new lessons and new principles and new dynamics and the change that has transpired in just the last 2 months. Everybody is dealing with a learning curve. Kids and adults and people just in general that have to connect online. So that is a very common thing. So that's why I'm going to have Jennifer help me with the slides, and I will be telling her when I go from one slide to the next. Sandy will be monitoring all of the comments and questions, which I'll explain in just a minute how that's going to be proceeded. And in the meantime, I will be looking at two different screens. That's why there is a name here that says Mark. That's my husband, but he's actually not on it. I'm just using his computer to be able to view everybody and be able to look at my notes at the same time. So the second thing that was said at the webinar, besides the fact that we have to adapt really quickly new things, the second thing was for us to never assume that just because the world is in crisis, we do not have the right to do fundraising in the meantime, or to prevent people from giving and not being involved in our ministry and what we're doing just because we assume that everybody else is like us, or they're struggling, or they're depressed, or they don't have finances. That right now, according to what the statistical information is on fundraising, a lot of organizations, they said, have raised more money in the last month and a half than they have prior to that, because people are sitting at home, and because a lot of times they feel helpless, they want to somehow contribute to rescuing somebody else from pain. And this is a time when we can give people an opportunity if we know exactly how to communicate our vision without pushing them into whatever we think is of them to do. And also, if we know how to use social media and all of the platforms given to us in a way that allows people to follow us in a close way, to feel like they're connected to us, and for the first time in many years, to feel like everybody is pretty much on the same level. I mean, you have been watching some of the even shows online that used to be done in such a well-mannered production, and now everybody's in their home shooting the videos from their house. And so immediately brings people together right where they're at on the same level. And I really believe the time when we have this hierarchical structure where somebody is above the other person and knew and had huge following and knew everything under the sky, those days are almost gone, especially right now, because people can't boast in, I had 20,000 people in my congregation this weekend. They can't say that they went and they had this big event, which a lot of times social media has been used for people to, in very selfish ways, grow their following just so that they can feel famous and somehow extract their worthiness out of all of their followers. So what we're going to be doing here, this particular class, is how to understand what you need to do and be empowered as a woman in ministry, in part-time ministry, in full-time ministry, as a woman who maybe wants to start a ministry but you don't know how, and how to put what we're saying into practicality. So we're going to start with slide 1, and as Bishop introduced our class, it is effective ministry communications for women in ministry. I know that we have a couple of guys also online listening, so this class is not exclusive to men, although most of the information will be for the women, and it can obviously be transferred to the men as well if they're in full-time ministry. So I have my information listed on here. I have several websites: Ceitci.org, changingageneration.net, and invisiblementors.com. We're going to be looking on Saturday at strategic ways of how to create websites in a way that people follow your website and follow you on social media and know the information. So at that time, I'm going to show you my websites. I'm just giving it to you right now. It's just information so that you know where to find me. On the second slide, we're going to look at the description of our course, and I'm going to read it to you. Most ministries do not fail because there is lack of vision, but because there is lack of finances. How many of you are going to agree with that? For the most part, all of us joining here today have huge vision for the world. We want to change the world. We want to change our environment. We want to change things in our spectrum, but not every time we can do that because we're lacking finances, and we're also lacking partners, lacking people who can stand with us and support us. So often there is an inability to properly communicate with others the value of the work to which God has called them. This course will offer practical strategies and effective business principles to assist women in full-time or part-time ministry who desire to succeed in ministry by utilizing creative partner communications and fundraising methods. Discussions will focus on practical ideas that create a sustainable platform by finding new donors, effectively communicating, and building lifelong partner relationships. Because of the unprecedented circumstances due to the coronavirus, there will be an extra material included on how to maintain partnerships during a time of global crisis. And even though we're doing the class online, we will be having questions and answers on Saturday. And also throughout the course, if somebody has a question, we will have the opportunity to answer it. But I would need you to put it into your chat, which Bishop explained how to do that, so that Sandy can transfer the question to me and let me know exactly who is asking the question. And if I'm going to be answering it on Friday or Saturday, I will let you know so that you know that your question will be answered. But if I'm already answering it, there is no need to answer it prematurely. Second slide, or third slide, Jen, would be the objectives of the course. So that would include learning how to communicate with current and potential partners in a strategic way. We're going to utilize social media channels to stay engaged with our audience, and we're going to discuss that primarily on Saturday. We're going to find ways to identify, write, and properly present our vision with enthusiasm and also professionalism via social media, podcasts, video, and also Instagram, IGTV, any kind of Facebook lives, any kind of YouTube lives, all of that will fall into that particular area. Then we're going to gain insight into the dynamics of persuasion, positive and negative, and how to set the stage for effective influence. We will understand the obstacles in fundraising and build a lasting team or a friend network with personal and ministry level. And then we're going to also learn how to accurately set goals and expectations, is also budget, and become an active pursuer rather than passive observer. And a couple of more. We will take practical ideas and principles for organizing fundraisers and different events. And if we have those opportunities again to do them in person, you will know how. In the meantime, we will also show on Saturday, or I will show you a couple of fundraisers that were done online that were also very successful, so that the people who run those nonprofits didn't have to cancel them. They did virtual fundraising and virtual auction and still raised a lot of money through those. So we're going to look at that as well. On the next slide, I'm going to give you a little bit more of information about myself at the moment, so that I can set the stage of how I would like for you guys to introduce yourself as we get into the slide after that. I know that most of you that are online right now know each other, and some of you have never seen any of us. So we would love to give you an opportunity. I know that I can see that a lot of you are online with your video, and then there's also some of you that don't have the video. If you would like to remain without the video, that's fine. I would just ask you when you're ready to introduce yourself, and just kind of when you see that there is nobody talking and you haven't introduced yourself, just to unmute your button and then explain to us, give us a little bit of an introduction, which I'll show you in the slide exactly how to do that. With this in mind, a little bit of my background, although Bishop did an amazing job introducing me and telling you that I'm from Bulgaria and for how many years I've been in ministry, I wanted to include something very important. I came to the States with $100. My big vision to change the world, and I thought it's going to be happening before I turn 21. I mean, everybody is just going to jump on, believe in what I'm doing, and ready to sponsor me. And by the time I'm 21, we're changing the world. Okay, now I am 44, and the world hasn't totally gotten changed, but I have learned a lot of things over the years, for the 25 years that I have been in full-time ministry. And most of the things that I will be sharing today and over the course are things that I didn't go to school to learn. I learned them from practical application, from seeing what worked and what didn't, and continuing to learn. So all of us here are not fully experts in every single thing, because things constantly change and there is more information that comes to us, and therefore we can always gain new knowledge. So every year I try to gain more knowledge as to how to communicate the vision that God has given me correctly with our partners, and therefore grow the organization. So I started with just the $100 in my hand to go to a Bible college at Victory Bible Institute in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I currently am at doing the course. And then over the years, I had absolutely no idea how to start a mailing list, how to get people to connect with us. But one thing I did know from being raised up in Bulgaria, and that was how to become a friend. And to me, friendship and being in a relationship with people that I met was absolutely the most fundamental thing that I knew how to practice, to the point that I would go when I first, the first 2 months, when I had nobody to even talk to, I would go to Walmart, and back in the day, 1995, 96, I would go up and down the aisles And because so many people in Tulsa were so friendly back in the day, and even to this day, actually, Oklahoma is still a very friendly state, I would ask them for their name, phone number, and contact information. And I would tell them, I am new to this country and I am here to change the world. And according to my classes in Victory, I was required to have a mailing list and I had nobody to put on the mailing list. So I would tell them, would you mind if I put your name on my mailing list and became friends with you? And in a sense, it was really hilarious because I would just always carry a little paper and write everybody's name and phone number and address, start a mailing list with random strangers, and I would call them up and invite myself to dinner because, you know, when you don't have a lot of money, you got to survive somehow. So I would literally figure out, is this person trustworthy? Could I have dinner with them? And then see if they could invite me to dinner so that I would secure at least one good meal a day and be able to survive. I know it's quite hilarious just thinking back in the day that I didn't end up on the street or somebody didn't kill me because of what I was doing. But I did what I could with what I had at that time and with the amount of knowledge that I had. So all that to say, now that it's been all of these years later, I would never do some of the things that I did when I was 19 because I know better. But when I didn't, that's what happened. And some of you here are at step one of starting fundraising and communicating with partners, and some of you are on step 10 or 20 or 100. So we're all on different levels. And I really would love to see collaboration even after the class of exchanging ideas and maintaining our friendship and maintaining in contact so that we continue to grow together through these times, because everything will continue to change and we would need to strengthen one another. And if we come up on resourceful information, it would be really good to share it with other people as well. So right now my organization has about 2,000 children that we support through our programs on monthly basis with their families. And our primary focus is Bulgaria, where we have 18 different locations where we conduct programs, after school programs, and then also sidewalk Sunday school and various other programs throughout the week that help these kids to have a better sustainability in life. But because everything is shut down at the moment, we're ministering to all of the families as well. One of our branches got approved to be a food bank, so we have been able to distribute food. And I started a campaign just a month ago, and I'll be sharing about that more also on Saturday of how the campaign worked and what hasn't. But I wanted just to raise funds for 120 families, 30 or $50 per family, depending on how many kids they had. Some have 7, 8 children, and others have 2 or 3 children. And those families were practically starving because everything was closed in Bulgaria. They didn't have access to food, access to water. Some of them had no idea what was even going on because they have no access to TV and an understanding of what's happening. Why is all of a sudden everything closed and there's police everywhere, not allowing people to get on to the streets to go shop. So seeing that need, I end up creating the Hope campaign. And I am very happy to announce that as of today, we just started. First of all, we fed 420 families with children last month. And that was an incredible outpour of love from people around this country and also Europe who donated, who helped us to literally go and save lives. And then today, I was able to send money for another 400 families with up to 6 and 9 children to be fed. So the feeding is going to start this weekend. So all that to say, in 6 short weeks, we will be distributing food to 800 families. I was looking at the finances that came in, and if I had to travel to raise the money that just came in 6 weeks, I tell you, I wouldn't be able to do it by traveling and speaking, because that's been my primary way a lot of times of quickly spreading the word, traveling and speaking every week in different churches and being able to mobilize the church to help us. Well, now I had to do it through the internet, and it still worked, because as long as we understand that we have God on our side and the church is not dead, we're a part of the church. And the goodness of people is still there. Even in crisis, there is always somebody that would be willing to express compassion and empathy and help somebody else. So I want to encourage you with that, because if you're struggling right now and you think that the crisis is going to end your ministry and is going to end your fundraising, it is not true. We're going to be here to I'll be here to give you at least some keys and some principles, but also to know this is not the end. If it looks like the end, it's not the end, because it's always, God is at the end, and we're going to go through this, and we're going to come on the other side stronger with greater creativity, greater wisdom, and greater knowledge. Now, let's go on to the next slide, because I would like to take a few minutes. I know that we have, about 15, 20 people online. So I'm hoping that this would take about 20 to 25 minutes tops for everyone to introduce yourself. And this is how I would like for you to do it. On the screen, you're seeing several things that I want you to just quickly go over. And I'll give you an example. So first and last name, my name is Ceitci Demirkova. Like Bishop said, I am the only one with that name in the US, but actually I'm the only one with that kind of a name and spelling in the entire world. If you type in my name in search engines, I'm the only one that comes up. So the reason is because I created the spelling of my name when I came to the States. So there is no such name anywhere else. We don't have the same alphabet, so I had to come up with a certain way of saying Ceitci, and that's how I created my name. So then I am joining you from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and yes, I'm in full-time ministry. The name of my ministry is called Changing a Generation, doing business as Ceitci Demirkova Ministries. Both are registered. I am currently utilizing every single social media platform that you could find, that I could bring awareness, raise funds, and communicate with our partners. My organization in some ways has been impacted negatively in the fact that I can't travel anywhere and be able to physically be there to meet with people and to communicate the message and preach. So my speaking engagements are not like they used to be. I used to conduct like 200 and some speaking engagements in person every year or more. But I thought that we would have a negative impact, but we actually have not financially had a negative impact on our income. So praise God for that. And obviously, since I'm the instructor, I want to answer the last question, but I really want you to tell me, what are your expectations of the class? And we will take notes so that I know what to expect as well when I'm teaching. So I'm going to open it up. Anybody can start, and just unmute yourself, and then try to keep it to 1 minute of introduction.
Ceitci, I recommend that you call on people so we
Okay.
save time by not stumbling over each other.
All right. So the way I look at it on the screen is how I'm going to call people out, because I'm sure everybody's seeing differently on their screens. So the second person next to me is Jennifer. And if you could introduce yourself.
Sure, my name is Jennifer Yeager. I'm joining you from Tulsa, Oklahoma in the USA. I work at Osborne Ministries International. I am a minister at International Gospel Center. I don't know if that's full-time or part-time, but I think it's full-time. The name of the ministry you represent, I just said that one, and the position I hold at Osborne Ministries International, I am a media coordinator, and at International Gospel Center, I am one of 3 worship leaders. I also work as a support role for anything in the ministry that needs to be supported on the video, during any video wise. Current social media platforms, wow. Facebook, Twitter, not Twitter so much, but Instagram, Facebook, that we utilize and promote, probably a few more. In my ministry, because I'm more of a support role, again, email, Instagram, Facebook, and then we have my personal ministry as a support ministry has not been negatively impacted by COVID-19. I've increased my ministry significantly. And then what do I expect to learn from the class? Oh, I'm so excited about this class from Ceitci. My goal for the class is that everything runs smoothly, but I'm hoping to really be able to glean and pick up, a lot of wisdom from you. I know I've watched you on Instagram, and you've just got everything really well coordinated. So that's one of the big things.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. If you can mute yourself, or I guess not, because you're the main person hosting. Bishop, you're the next one after Jen.
Okay. My name is Bishop LaDonna Osborne. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I am certainly in full-time ministry. The name of the ministry is Osborne Ministries International. I'm also part of Women's International Network and International Gospel Fellowship of Churches and Ministries. I'm using Facebook, Instagram, actually Instagram, the TV part is wonderful, Twitter, email heavily, YouTube, and we have lots going on that's interactive on our website. About 45% of our income now is coming through the internet. So that's a result of these various things. Yes, our ministry has been negatively impacted by COVID-19, primarily because 36% of our mailing list are people who reside in nations where the United States is not sending mail. So we have to eliminate 36% of the names on our mailing list to receive our fundraising letters, our ministry reports and updates. So that is significant. I am expecting to learn from this class new ideas. There's new ideas every day in this dimension, and I know you're right up to date. Thank you, Ceitci.
Thank you, Bishop. The next person is Joyce.
Yes, hello, Joyce McNaughton. I am joining you from Arizona, but I'm based in Illinois. And yes, I'm in the full-time ministry, but I do substitute for extra cash right now. And I am the president of Rejoice Ministries. I have 2 outreaches as a result of that, which is basically a missions and evangelism ministry. And I do healing school, radio, and just meetings. And also the beauty of holiness, which is sharing the love of Jesus with those that are trapped in the commercial sex industry. I have already learned through going to JBS, Joseph Business School for Entrepreneurs last year. I graduated from that because I felt like I needed to learn more, and other past WIN classes that I'm really need to up my game on this. I mean, I do Facebook, email, and LinkedIn. I need to do all the rest. So am I negatively impacted? Yeah, because I'm not doing what I've been told already I need to do. So I expect to learn from this class. Just support, emotional support, learning from the best, and just improving everything I can. So thank you.
Thank you. The next one is Pastor Shy.
Good evening, Pastor Cheyenne Amal Anthony. I'm here in Tulsa in my home. Full-time ministry, yes. I represent the Church International Gospel Center. That's the host church for Women's International Network. I'm the pastor there. I'm the vice president of WIN, this organization, and the vice president, sorry, the dogs are barking. It'll be off in a minute. And the vice president of Osborne Ministries International. Current social media platforms, yes, email, Facebook. I have 12 Facebook pages. Learning Instagram, a lot with Zoom, a lot with YouTube. Organizational income. The question was about income being negatively impacted in our international ministry, Osborne Ministries. Yes. When? Yes. The local church, I'm thrilled to say I got a report today that says our giving has remained steady. So that's wonderful. And I expect to learn from this class. My biggest expectation has to do with the learning more about the platforms I've been uncomfortable with, like Instagram, and how I might leverage that. That was quick.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, the next person is Legine.
Hi, my name is Legine Cook. I'm joining you from Tulsa, Oklahoma, originally from Jamaica. Am I full-time or part-time? I'm not too sure right now. I'm a little bit of both, depending on what's happening. I'm representing International Gospel Center, and I am the director of our after-school program. And right now, we are really using, excuse me, Facebook a lot as our platform now. And let's see, yes, I'm sure, like, Pastor Shai said, since I'm connected to International Gospel Center, yes, we've been affected negatively, to some extent by the whole COVID crisis. Is there anything else am I leaving out? I think that's pretty much it. What I want to learn from this class. So there's a lot that I want to do back home in Jamaica, and I'm just here to see what I can gain and learn.
Wonderful. After that is Sandy. If you can unmute yourself.
I just did. Hi, I'm Sandy Johnson. I'm from Tulsa, originally from Indiana, but I've been here 11 years. I am in part-time ministry with WIN as the administrator and love it. I'm also working part-time at a place for recovery from addiction, and I'm excited about the ministry possibilities there. In regards to WIN, we use email a lot and Facebook a lot, and obviously we're using Zoom. That's how we're coming to you. We have been impacted, like Pastor says, some financially, but in the realm of classes, obviously we're using Zoom, and so we're able to be with all of you, which is wonderful. And as far as what I expect to learn from the class, I've learned with coming to Tulsa from Bishop and Pastor that old dogs can learn new tricks. And though I'm slow, I believe I can learn. And so I'm expecting some new tricks to learn and some new ideas.
Awesome. Very good. The next one is Jerusha. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yes, Jerusha. I'm originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Right now, I'm staying at a friend's in Guthrie, Oklahoma, the original first capital of Oklahoma. I will be returning to Uganda on October 20th, basically in full-time ministry, and the ministry is Shalom Havara Ministries, and I address issues of domestic violence and sexual abuse, and how, pastors can handle that, and prevention and so forth. Also, too, I've got a book coming out on my own personal experience called The Worst Betrayal. The main platforms I use is email and Facebook. So I've got a lot to learn about income for the, has it been negatively impacted? I don't know because I haven't been able to raise any money. So I expect to learn a whole lot from this class, and you know, to be able to share that with my husband. My husband is Herbert Sempeswa. He is a Ugandan, and he's currently in Uganda right now. So we're hoping by the time I leave that the restrictions and everything will be lifted by October. So that's me.
So much. Can everybody still hear me? Okay, so my screen changed. So let's see. We have next person is Tanya. Tanya, is that how you pronounce your name? I'm still learning it.
That is correct. You got it right.
Awesome.
My name is Tanya Dick. I am joining from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I actually work for the Osbornes, and it's a joy to work for them as an accounting assistant. I also volunteer with IGC as in the media team, and then also with Education for Scholars from time to time. And I'm kind of just volunteer, I guess, as a part-time in ministry. All of the organizations I work do really well, especially Osborne and IGC. I can tell they do really well with using social media platforms to promote. And then also EFS, Education for Scholars, I know is wanting to utilize more of these skills as well. Has our organization been impacted, like Bishop LaDon was talking about, with the percentage of people needing to have access to letters instead of like online newsletters? That's definitely impacting us. And what I expect to learn from the class would be just pretty much anything. I could tell there's going to be a lot of rich information in this course. So I'm just very excited to be able to learn. So yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. The next person, it says win class, but I'm assuming this is Pastor Rosalind. Is
Yes.
that you?
Yes.
Awesome.
Can you hear me? All right. I think I got it. Okay, my name is Rosalind Paulden. I am in Oklahoma City. I'm in full-time ministry. The ministry is Everlasting Life Ministries Church. I am the pastor there. Mostly I use texts and emails, and our income has been impacted. And what I really want to learn is learn and be more comfortable using social media.
Okay.
And that's about it. I need to learn everything. I'm open to learning.
I am taking notes as everybody's talking, so that's great.
Okay.
The next person is someone that I cannot pronounce the name, but it ends on Saint Patrick. If you can unmute yourself and tell us about you.
Reverend Ceitci, can you hear me? It's Joy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it's Joy Hellman.
Oh, hi.
Hey, so sorry.
Is that the name that is using for your account?
Well, I had to borrow someone else's computer.
Gotcha.
Because we can't find our computer since we moved. So that's the name. So
that's okay.
anyways,
go for it.
Yeah, this is Joy Hellman, and of course I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and yes, I'm in full-time ministry. I work for 2 pastors. I've been their administrative assistant for 20 years, so I do that. Plus, I have it started out with a Facebook ministry platform to the hurting, the brokenhearted, specifically in the area of sexual abuse. And so I minister to them specifically. And then of course I use Instagram. I've never really used Twitter or other webinars or blogs. And so I'm interested in learning about everything that you have to say about that. It's been a blessing because people on Facebook will just donate to me, but I've never learned what you learned. I've never learned how to raise ministry support. So I don't have a name for my ministry. I've just always used my name. I have had a website in the past, but I've never really been pleased with that website. So I'm interested in learning about website and about how to raise ministry support because I want to run with the gospel. And so you're just an excellent role model, and I just want to learn all I can from you. And then next to me is Stephanie Busada, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Okay, great.
Hi, everybody. I'm Stephanie Busada, and I'm joining you from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. We just bought a house there, and we're excited about that. And I've been in full-time ministry actually since 1980 and had a couple of years, the past 2 years, sabbatical, if you will. It was kind of a forced one with deaths in the family, and we fighted some. We're catching a healing on this end and right now. And the name of the ministry that I had was called Word Song Ministries. And of course, I was the president of that. And what I incorporated was I began as a singer. And so I had ministry with song as well as eventually the Lord led me into preaching and teaching and praying for the sick and praying for people and encouragement. And my current social media has really just consisted of email and a lot of Facebook and let's see, and YouTube as well with some of the videos. And but I'm so excited to learn from all of you and from you primarily, Ceitci and Pastor Shai and LaDonna, Bishop LaDonna, with the Instagram and blogs and webinars and all that. And surprisingly, you know, I was kind of leaning to where, okay, Lord, what are we going to do? This COVID-19 crisis and everything. And what happened though, with some of the friends that I've kept in contact with, they knew certain things that I personally was facing, and they were very generous without me even asking, just because I've kept in contact with them and they've been friends, many of them, for a very long time. And what I expect to learn from this class is everything I don't know. And after 40 years in ministry, I think it's time for an upgrade because the social media and everything with the computer, that's going to be such a great help. And I was so excited to read your outlines. I mean, Joy and I were just speechless. We thought, oh, this is such an answer to every kind of prayer we have prayed. So we're very thankful for you, Ceitci, and the blessing that you've been, the success, and you're leading the way for us. And we're very appreciative, and we're all going to make it together.
That's right, we are. Thank you for sharing. The next person is Julia.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Julia Lyles. I live in Oklahoma City, or Yukon, Oklahoma, which I attend Everlasting Life Ministries Church. Pastor Rosalind Paulden is my pastor. I moved here, 4 years ago? And I asked the Lord, I said, okay, I was brought up in the church, so I said, well, Lord, send me somewhere where I can be used. So he sent me one Sunday morning. I got up early, and he led me to Everlasting Life Ministries Church, and I've been there ever since. So I've been there 4 years now, after spending 50 years in California, because I'm originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we left there when I was 11, then moved to California. Then I came back here. So after I retired, I volunteer at FD Moon, which is a middle school right across the street from our church. Pastor put me over the youth department, so I work with the youth. I'm a Sunday school teacher of the youth department. I love to sing, and I say I'm open to learning. I mostly use Facebook, and I text a lot, Facebook and emails. So I'm open to learning more about how to spread the word of God.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, let me see. Marliana, is that how you say your name?
That is correct. How are you this evening?
I am great. Thank you so much. Go for it.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for this free class. I wanted to express my excitement. My name is Marliana Dick, and I'm coming here from Tulsa. Well, I'm here in Tulsa here. I'm in full-time ministry. Sometimes I think I'm in full-time everything. I was an educator before. Well, I can't even say I was an educator before. Actually, I'm still an educator. And the work that I do is still in education. I retired to do some nonprofit work, and the name of the organization is Education for Scholars. So I'm the founder, and I work as the executive director right now. What are some social media that I'm using? We have Facebook, we have Instagram, Twitter, we have a website. We've actually done a YouTube video before. Recently, we have been doing a lot more of Zoom or webinars, classes over Zoom. And so that has really opened my eyes to how we can expand the reach of serving our students. So I'm excited about that new experience that we have launched. As far as COVID-19, I would say yes, but at the same time, we already needed a lot of know-how to do effective fundraising. So I'm excited about the things that you are sharing with us this evening. And I'm especially interested in obstacles of fundraising events, and virtual fundraising was actually something that I mentioned to Tanya, who volunteers with us, about just before the shutting down. We had a fundraiser in February. So I have really just started to think, how can we do some virtual fundraising? So I'm excited about those things that you have to offer us.
Very good. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, the next person is Kelly Stark.
Hello, my name is Kelly Stark, and I am in Mission Viejo, California. And I am going to answer the third question after I answer the fourth question, because that will help. The name of the ministry I have is called Corrado Hope for the Future, and I'm the founder. And we work with orphans in Romania. And I lived there for 15 years. So am I in full-time or part-time ministry? I was in full-time ministry for 15 years, and I kind of still am, because I adopted my 4 youngest kids and brought them to the States with me. So, but the current social media platforms I struggle with, and Ceitci has tried to help me before, and I didn't use her enough to help me get to where I need to be with it. So I'm looking forward to this. But I do have Facebook, I do use email, and a website, Corrado Hope for the Future. And my organization has not been seriously negatively impacted by the COVID crisis, but I am starting to get some emails from some people saying, they might be reducing some of the support. And what do I expect to learn from this class? Everything I can that I know Ceitci has already tried to tell me so many times. But I just, I'm ready to do this now. I'm ready to move forward with it. I had a lot of things holding me back, so I'm really looking forward to this. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Just kind of like opening a bracket, Kelly and I were both living in Mission Viejo when I lived there. She was my neighbor, but we met through church, and we became best friends because she had lived in Romania for this many years, and I'm from Bulgaria, practically neighbors, and God just put us together to encourage each other, and I'm so glad she's able to join us and connect to more women. All right, the next person is Woody.
All right. Hi. And I want to thank you and Sandy and Bishop Madonna and Cheyenne and all you guys who made this available. This is really excellent and very needed. And I thank you very much. Am I on there? You hear my voice?
Yes.
I unmute.
Hear you.
Okay.
And
all right. Okay. As Bishop mentioned, I am a senior fitness instructor, Tai Chi, water and land for the Institute right now on sabbatical, and we're trying to figure out ways to reopen the Institute with Zoom and with smaller classes and how to do it safely in the midst of all this fun stuff. And I'm also the board chair at a women's shelter called House of Hope Ministry for Women and Children, and I teach redemption there and rebuilding your life from nothing. And I use the Osborne material a great deal, Daisy's and Dr. Teal, all of that, and the Bible. The House of Hope focuses, well, we have women that are abused, drug addicted, abandoned, trafficked women, and the state prison at Gatesville gives out an address when they send them out into the street. So we have a broad group of people, and it's, right now we're figuring out how to teach in a crowded homeless shelter, and that's the next project. So I use a lot of Facebook and texting and telephone just to keep in touch with people, to communicate, to share some classes with them, to encourage them. Many of my seniors are alone. I have one of my water aerobics classes, I call it Widows and Wounded, because everybody either is a widow or they've lost a significant loved one. And there's just a lot of how do you put it, bringing people together to care for one another. And that's a big I'm getting better with social media. Fortunately, as a lifeguard and in water fitness instructor, I communicate a lot with young people, and they're very helpful in helping me figure out my iPhone and how to use this platform. I'm really excited about Zoom. We're doing a women's Bible study with that in church, and now we're all having Zoom church, and I get to go to all my kids' church on Sunday, which is all 5 of them. So I get super churched on Sunday. But my hope is to be able to help House of Hope become more viable. People have been very generous during this. Cisco came in with a truck and just unloaded it and said, feed the people. And we've had good donations. We had to cancel several fundraisers because of this. But we're looking, this is a great opportunity to figure out how to make it work.
Very
and
good.
Love y'all.
Thank you, Woody.
Welcome.
If you can mute yourself. So the next person is Walter. You're the only guy.
Hey. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me in the class. I actually just found out about this class yesterday, and I'm just really excited about the things I'm going to be learning. My name is Walter Uvala. Recently, we founded a gospel ministry called Gospel Campaigns, where we focus on promoting the teachings of Jesus and the message of Jesus. So we do things like radio programs and give tracts and give materials to, people that are in areas where the gospel has not really reached. So we try to reach people that have not really been exposed to the gospel. So I am trusting that in this class, I will learn, strategies to be able to communicate vision to people in a way that they can, be a part of what God is doing.
Great. I'm taking notes on everybody, so that is good. Thank you so much. And we miss having you here in IGC.
Thank you. I miss IGC too. I miss everyone.
So the next person is, so we have Samsung, and that's a phone, but who is that somebody that hasn't said anything yet? If you could introduce yourself. If you see it on your screen, on mine is Rosalind, and then next one is, I don't see a picture, but it's a phone that's connected, Samsung phone.
Rev Ceitci, I'm sorry to jump in. When we did Zoom the other night, that showed up and it was Joan Carlton, that same thing on our Zoom thing. I don't know what that term, but.
Gotcha. So that's probably Joan. Joan, we love you. We assume you're not able to unmute yourself to talk to us. So if you figure it out later during the break, we'll jump back in and you can say a few words. So I'll go on to the next person, and that is Kate.
My name is Kate Knighton. I'm joining you from Australia. I live in a small country town called Parkes, which is about 3 hours west of Sydney. I'm in part-time ministry. We also run our own business here in Parkes. The ministry I'm representing is Ankit Rambabu Ministries in India. Ankit has a church in India, and he does big crusade meetings. So my husband is the Chief Technical Officer and Operations Manager for Ankit's team. So my role is mainly in maintaining the website, the creation of online courses and that sort of thing. So he is currently using pretty much all social media, Facebook, email, Twitter, blogs, YouTube. Yes, the organisation has been negatively affected by COVID, just with not being able to travel, the cancellation of outdoor meetings, etc. Learn from this class. I guess we're pretty familiar with websites and social media, but what we can improve in is our partners. So I'd really like to know strategies for communicating with our supporters and followers, what kind of they want to hear from us, to get them engaging more. We have a lot of followers online on the website. We get signing up and buying free products on the website, but we want to obviously be able to convert those into financial support.
800,000 people.
We've got, sorry.
It was 800,000 engagements last month.
We had 800,000 engagements, my husband is telling me, but not many signing up to actually donate and buy paid products. Me.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. What time is it there?
It's 20 past 10 in the morning.
Okay, good.
Video off most of the time because I'm actually working as well as listening to you at the same time. So this is our home office here where we run stuff going on behind me.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's wonderful to join you today.
I think that basically concludes everybody. If I have missed to name you, please introduce yourself. Now is your chance. Anybody that did not go with the introductions? Okay, it looks like that would be all of us.
Hi.
Oh, who is that?
Hi, this is Betty Neal from Dallas, Texas. And I am very excited to be here tonight. I think I may be one of the Samsungs that you were calling for because I'm on the Samsung phone. And excuse me, I'm bivocational ministry. And the name of our ministry is Living Faith Christian Church. I'm a pastor, and I have been with the WIN ladies and to the WIN classes for a few times, been invited in, and I've certainly enjoyed it. The social media that we use, the email, Facebook, and Instagram. And yes, we've been negatively impacted by the COVID-19 crisis that's currently going around the world. And my expectations from this class, I want to learn everything to enhance, to be able to further the gospel, the kingdom, and also do it effectively and with a level of excellency. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Well, this has been great, just kind of getting to know everybody and where you're from and what you're involved in. One thing that stood out to me that everybody has said so far, from taking notes and listening, that would be social media engagements, how to convert people who follow you into basically connected to you to become partners and donors. The next one would be how to properly use social media to communicate your message as a minister, meaning how do you engage your social media followers to check out your website and become partners with you. And then some of you talked about the importance of learning how to use all of the social media platforms to do videos, especially Instagram. So I think those are a few of the topics we will be definitely discussing throughout the whole day on Saturday, with the actual practical going back and forth on the screen and showing you different aspects of that. So tonight and tomorrow, I want to lay a little bit of a foundation of communication and fundraising so that we all are on the same page, and then bring all of us together onto the next topic of the practical aspects. So Jen, if we can go onto the next slide, we're gonna jump into it. One thing I wanted to mention for questions and answers, please write them on that chat throughout tonight and tomorrow night so that we know what the questions are and I have the time to think about it and answer them on Saturday. Then on the next slide, I want to make sure that everybody received the emails and checked out the actual handouts. So there is a handout that has these slides on. I want to make sure, if you are on your computer, to open that PDF file. It should say that it's the effective ministry outline for participants. You can take notes on your computer, obviously, or by hand. I know that this is being recorded, so when we're done with the whole course, there will be a link that is sent to you so you can review it for yourself. So there is no need for you to do screen grabs or try to record it. This will be available to you after the course is over as well. So here we have what is communication. And the reason I'm starting with that is because we have so many differences when we communicate with men and women around us. And a lot of times we assume that everybody communicates the same way that we communicate to ourselves, with the same type of an understanding. And so just to know, communication is the process of passing information and understanding from one person to another. In other words, it's the process of transmitting, sharing ideas, opinions, facts, the value of what you're sharing from one person to another, one organization to another. And it's very important when you're reading this outline that in all of our communication, we always communicate with emotion, we communicate with body language, we communicate through writing. So we have the sender, the messenger, the message that we're sharing, and then the recipient. So there is 3 parts of communication. On the next slide, we're going to talk about the premise of communication. And even though this is not a class on differences between how men and women communicate, I do want to kind of bring the differences into perspective, because as a CEO, as a pastor, as a person who is running organization full-time or part-time, you are communicating with the opposite gender. And it's very important to understand how they are also perceiving you. So some statistics about women who are functioning as CEOs of nonprofits. It shows that only 21% of the large nonprofits are CEOs and they are women. Only 7.5% of all nonprofits, which means executive staff, are women of color. Then women in nonprofits make 66% of the salaries of their male counterparts. And then GuideStar for 2018 shows that they have found more women leading nonprofits. However, those organizations are not large organizations. Those organizations are smaller. Maybe they have a staff of 50 to 100, but predominantly even smaller than that. On the next slide, we're going to look at styles of communication, which means the number one thing is our attitude versus relationships. Like, what kind of an attitude do we have and portray when we're communicating? Once again, we're going to be breaking this down as we're talking about social media, writing newsletters, blogs, etc. But women tend to be definitely more relationship oriented. We definitely want to get to know the person, talk with them. And a lot of times in our talking, we're not getting to the point. So just because somebody is talking doesn't mean that they're properly communicating. And oftentimes when a woman starts to talk because she's wanting to build a relationship, she can get tuned out if a lot of people are listening to her and she is not making a point fast enough. So if you have male audience or half and half, you got to be careful with how you're portraying your visual message, audio message, and also your live feed, especially if you're doing a live video. You got to be understanding that men and women, young people, and sometimes even children browse through those videos. And the way you sit, the way you stand, the way you express yourself, that is all a part of our communication. So in this particular part here, men tend to be more oriented towards the task. What is the final goal here? And they build relationships through an actual project, while we build relationships by just connecting and talking. The number two is the way we process information also differs between styles, between men and women. So here, women make a decision of how they're going to look and process information, and they process it out loud, while men process it internally. And if you're working in an environment with a lot of men around you and you're not getting a response, you may end up thinking that it is negatively received because nobody is actually saying much, where in the same time, they're processing information. So giving space and time and asking questions is really important when we're talking about building a team that is going to be a part of your organization, so that you are not a lone ranger. And if you're a part of a team working with men and women in it, how to properly communicate with the guys so that they have enough space to process the information without being attacked, that they're not giving enough feedback. Then leadership style, men and women in their relationship with everybody else have a different way of leading. So men tend to be more hierarchical. And we have said this is not a class on discrimination at all, because all men are included into this whole communication style here. But just to understand that because of the culture that has been portrayed for so many years, when you include a male gender into communication, especially when we have board of directors, leaders, people that you're teaching and training, a lot of times a guy, even if he is not in charge, may end up taking charge over you who are particularly set up to be in charge. So with that in mind, how do you move forward without offending them and without being offended? So we'll discuss that in just a minute. But in the next slide, we're going to check and see the communication styles in our nonverbal behavior. When women nod their head, doesn't necessarily mean that they're agreeing with the information that they're hearing. It just means, according to this research that I've done, that they're just listening and they're saying, yep, I'm getting it, I'm listening. While men, on the other hand, when they nod their head, basically means that they are agreeing with you. And if they're not nodding their head, they're trying to process the information. Women use more direct eye contact in conversations to create a relationship and connection, while men actually interpret that as too much personal connection or aggressiveness and end up to back away. The reason I included this in here is because as a person who's traveling and speaking and having to deal with a lot of pastors every single week in different speaking engagements, I had to learn my body language, the way I looked at the person could be interpreted in a lot of different ways. And I had to be very careful not to send the wrong message, even if I'm just asking the pastor a question about the offering or when I need to finish the service. Because if I come off as though I'm there to run the show, I'm probably not going to get invited the second time to speak in their church. And at the same time, if I act like I am weak and I have no idea what I'm talking about and I can be run over, they're probably not going to invite me again either, because they would not trust me. So you see, by just even talking about communication styles, there's so much diversity that we have to bridge the gap in our mindset that in communicating, we want to communicate in a way that is precise, but at the same time, not back down from our principles, our personality, and who we are, but to be mindful of how we're being perceived. So staying aware of the styles of communication in verbal and nonverbal creates a lot of awareness for us to avoid future miscommunication and to work better. I remember just going to a church and having to present information about our nonprofit organization and then preach. Immediately, this was in the time when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. The pastor, the way he introduced me, said, well, we have this girl here that I can't pronounce her name, but somebody recommended her to me, And now she's going to be talking about her organization. I don't really know if she has anything good to say, but pray for her while she's presenting, and hopefully she will do well. Okay, so how do you continue forward with excitement and enthusiasm and love and respect after that kind of an introduction? And trust me, I have had great introductions and the worst possible introductions under the sky. And because I have such a complicated name, or people, and I look young, and for the longest time, even when I was in my 20s or in 30s, I looked like I was 20 or 15 or something, and people didn't take me seriously. And now that in my 40s, I finally feel like, okay, I got something to say and I can show up and I don't have to justify my age. I can actually just open my mouth and I carry myself a lot differently than back in those days. But the reason I'm giving you that example is because in communication, you got to be quick to understand how do you move from a negative setting and a negative connotation and a negative introduction, or an actual argument in some cases, or in other cases when you're blamed for something that you haven't even done, in a way that you bring respect to yourself without losing your dignity and without losing who you are. So the way I approached it at that time is that I got up, I smiled really big, and I have learned this from Bishop and from just being in classes, that I am responsible for my own actions. I'm not responsible for how they introduce me. I'm responsible to get the whole audience to believe me. And I said, so I am extremely grateful for the opportunity to speak today. And even though the introduction wasn't that great, I said, Pastor, I really hope by the time we're done that I will be able to change your mind, and you will be understanding of who I am and what I have done. And I just said it in my accent that was a lot stronger back in the day, with a big smile. And I just went forward and started preaching and talking. You know that by the time we were done, the pastor actually came up on stage and publicly apologized in front of the whole congregation for the fact that, for one, he didn't believe in women in ministry and didn't want to give me that respect at all as a woman. But two, that he thought if he introduces me badly, he wanted to see if I'm going to be mad the whole time I'm speaking or not. And because I wasn't, it gained his respect that no matter what happens around us, you're the only person that can control your inward environment. And with that in mind, not everybody is going to believe in you. Not every person that likes your post is going to follow you and always be there for you and become your best donor. But there will be a few. And those that are a part of you are the ones that you want to focus on. So you can't focus on the masses. You got to focus on the ones that believe in you, believe in your message, believe in your character. And then because they believe in you, they will be faithful. On to the next slide, we have the 3 common strengths for females and 3 common weaknesses for females when it comes to communication. So the first one is, our strengths are the ability to read body language and pick up non-verbal cues. You know, we're way more intuitive, and that actually works in our advantage. I have learned over the years how to walk into a room, assess the situation, and figure out, are these people actually friendly? Do they like me? Do they not like me? And what do I do if they already have a negative attitude towards me? How do I approach the listeners? We also have better listening skills than the guys, and we're more effective in displaying empathy. So therefore, we will be able to draw more people to us. And I'm giving this as a positive so that you understand you're not at disadvantage here. There is a lot of positives being a woman. And if you can use them properly, you're able to bring people into your life rather than keep them on the outside of the door. The aspect of communication and weaknesses for females is that sometimes we tend to be overly emotional. There are a lot of women, when they get really passionate about something, they either fluctuate their voice on a really high pitch, or they end up crying. And if you have an audience where it's half and half, male and female, the guys are gonna think, oh my gosh, what kind of a basket case is this woman presenting a message? She can't even hold it together. While the other women are gonna be like, wow, I just feel so connected. She's crying, she feels my pain. So there is a time to be emotional, and there is a time to just keep it straight face and speak the information. And that would not be the time to try and raise funding through emotion as a manipulation. Never use your way of emotion to manipulate people to raise funds. What I mean by that is, I have seen videos on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, where somebody that I would know doesn't even run a big organization stands up in an emotional, dramatic way, causes the other person to really believe a message that doesn't even exist. They use examples, they use variations. Like, I would call that a person who studied how to basically manipulate their audience to respond on an emotional pull. There is a way to cause people to emotionally connect with you without manipulating them, and that is by providing pictures, providing information, providing results of what you have done, rather than asking for money and including God in it. For example, I was at a meeting where a lady comes up, and in this dramatic voice, she's trying to raise money. And she says, if you come today and give $1,000, God is going to bless you and your household and your children. And this is your way of just being able to plant a seed. And she used a few other ways of manipulating the audience, but everybody stormed out there, started throwing cash on the floor, on the chairs, on the platform. And by the time we were said and done, she raised $60,000 from that particular setting. It was actually here in Tulsa at a larger church that usually does not raise that kind of money in one setting. Needless to say, she wasn't invited again because of the way she was portraying the whole message. So overly emotional, or not getting to the point and not being authoritative, are weaknesses. But at the same time, the guys can interpret them and say, well, why would I be even listening to this person's message? So on the other hand, I didn't include this in the PowerPoint, but the three strengths for communication for men are that they have a physical appearance that commands respect. You know, have you seen a guy, he can get up in shorts and a t-shirt, and nobody cares about the physical appearance, but because he's a male, he immediately causes everybody to be like, whoa, did you hear what they said? And how they said it. Nobody is really listening, is really viewing their personal appearance, where on the other hand, the moment we show up, our body language, how we're dressed, how we're standing, how we're talking is immediately either a negative or a positive for us. And it doesn't matter if you said everything right. If one hair was out of place on that video, or while you're doing a presentation in front of everybody else, or the dress you're wearing, is immediate distraction, and it causes somebody else to judge you and to be like, why would I be listening? And then they turn you off. If you had that happen before, you can signal, raise your hand, or a little thumbs up. Yep, I see you. Then they have an effect in displaying power by the way their voices, because it's such a lower and deeper voice. It immediately causes people to be like, whoa, look at them. They know exactly what they're talking about. They may not be even saying anything. It's just the voice is deeper and it causes everybody to listen. Then the three negative weaknesses for the guy is that they're insensitive to their audience reactions. Because if a guy is on a point of, I'm going to do this and I'm going to say the point, they're not really looking at the whole audience to figure out who is paying attention and who isn't. They're just plowing through. And too overconfident in their own opinion. That was the number 3 for the weaknesses for the guys. Now, on the very bottom of the screen here, I put that women sound more emotional, especially when we're excited about the topic and we want to explain everything, because we have 5 different tones when we're speaking. So our voices rise under stress and they rise under excitement, where the guys only speaking 3 tones, and because they can sound a little monotone, that also causes people to kind of listen a little bit more and to believe that the information presented is actually truthful or accurate and more precise, and it may not be. So just to be aware of those criteria. On the next slide, we're going to have categories of communication. Now about here, I put a note to take a quick break.